This episode is brought to you by Microsoft Azure. Turn your ideas into reality with an Azure free account. Get everything you need to develop apps across cloud and hybrid environments, scale workloads, create cloud-connected mobile experiences, and so much more. Discover what you can create with popular services free for 12 months. Learn more at azure.com. That's AZURE.com. And sign up for a free account to start building in the cloud today.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
This episode is brought to you by FX's The Old Man. The hit show returns, starring Jeff Bridges and John Lithgow. The former CIA agent sets off on his most important mission to date, to recover his daughter after she's kidnapped. The stakes get higher and more secrets are uncovered. FX's The Old Man premieres September 12th on FX. Stream on Hulu.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Rival Recon here on Anfield Index Pro. I'm Harry Sethi. A terrific second half performance saw the Reds pick up 3 points in their opening game against Ipswich Town last weekend, and Arne Slot will be hoping to continue the positive start to his era. Up this weekend is a very different test for Liverpool in Brentford, who arrive at Anfield on Sunday for the Reds' first home game of the season. After a difficult campaign last time round with loads of injuries and Ivan Toney absent for half of the season, Thomas Frank will be looking forward to a more positive season this time around, with his squad recently bolstered with the addition of former Liverpool players Fabio Carvalho and Sepp van der Berg. Joining me on the podcast this week to discuss expectations for the season ahead for Brentford and players to look out for, I'm delighted to be joined by Mike Johnston, host of the award-winning Ealing Road Podcast.
Welcome back, Mike. Good to speak with you again. As we just, before we hit record, chatting a little bit about like how able we've been to shake off the cobwebs when it comes to the football season, or actually how much sport we ended up watching or covering, like in our jobs, like throughout the summer. I was saying the same thing to the Ipswich Town lot I spoke to last week. Naturally, they were very excited, I think, about that game, so they weren't too bothered about football being back again. But I think it's definitely taken me by surprise a little bit. And I just wanted to ask you, are you ready? Do you feel ready for the full season yet, or you still waiting for the transfer window to close and you'll finally get settled?
I think it was weird because we had the Euros, so there wasn't that kind of long break that you normally get, and then you get obviously like 3 weeks. Transfer things happen, or in our case, very few transfers. But then you guys decided to lend a helping hand, and give us some transfer news. So yeah, I think I'm ready. The performance against Palace was good. Really looking forward to Sunday. Haven't been to Anfield in a couple of seasons, so yeah, no, it's going to be good fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Nice. Yeah, you'll notice some changes then. You've not been for a couple of seasons. Every time I go, I'm surprised by how the ground is changing. And yeah, certainly like end of last season when I was there, that new capacity, just like it feels stronger than ever. So it's I'm sure it'll be a good day out as well. And I wanted to ask you, given where we are in the season, right at the start, we're still thinking back to last campaign, how it went. And some of the key takeaways from that. I think in the end, it was like a 15th place finish, given I think Everton's points deducted, right? So bumped you up to 15th. And from the outside in, looked like Brentford's hardest, campaign in the Premier League since coming up. Maybe that's wrong. You could tell me your thoughts on it. But when the final whistle went in the final game last season, what were your overriding emotions on the campaign?
Relief. I was so relieved when the final whistle went. It was the worst. It's kind of the first 2 seasons we had in the Premier League, I think, it was very much, we were still in like dreamland almost. I still was in the third season, but just because in the first 2 seasons we had wins like scattered around everywhere. Last season they were really hard to come by. And the injuries I don't know why, there was like a Premier League wide issues with injuries last season. There was so many, but for us in like key positions, we didn't have any fullbacks, first choice fullbacks at the club the whole season. Lost Recon Henry really early, lost Arne Hickey, and we just kept losing players. Brian Mbumo was out for 3 months. Johan Wissa was at AFCON. Obviously Toney had the ban, and even when he came back, he wasn't very good. So yeah, my overriding emotion when the final whistle went against Newcastle on the last day was, thank God it's over. I can not think about Brentford for another 3 months. But yeah, it was a tough one. It was a tough one compared to the first 2 seasons. Definitely, it was tough.
Yeah, I'm trying to think my overriding. When I asked that question, I'm trying to think I know what my overriding emotions were at the final game of last season. That was like some sort of state of grief still, I think. Actually, but I think I've spoken about it already. Klopp was, I mean, just as he is anyway, very clever operator, managed to turn what could have been a real few weeks of mourning into like, no, like cheer the new guy, here's a song, I'm going to go off and play paddle. And so I was like, okay, sure. And then the Instagram account, just to really soften up for Liverpool fans who are like, oh, what are we going to do without this uncle figure? He joined Instagram. So that's been a little boon anyway for any Liverpool fans who are still missing that German fella from the dugout. But I remember Thomas Frank actually was one of the names who was bandied about, actually linked with the club, and I could understand why, and I understand as well why Liverpool went in the direction that they did. I don't think a lot of people thought, Arne Slot would be coming in, but we'll talk about him and your impressions of him. But you mentioned there things that are completely out of your control, right? Injuries, you can't. Theoretically, you can't, legislate for that many injuries. And as you mentioned, there was a thing in the Premier League last season where players look like they're being pushed particularly hard, picking up a lot of different kinds of injuries, a lot of muscle injuries. Aside from that, I mean, you mentioned relief at the overriding emotion. But what did you think were the areas, not just, you could talk about squad and reinforcements, but what were the areas that you thought, okay, we need to really focus on these things if we're going to actually improve on, like how we did last season, this season? One, of course, is like we should have fit fullbacks. That would be a nice concept.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with Brentford has never been scoring goals, even when we've had some of our front men out. When Brian Mbumo was injured and Wissa was at AFCON.
Yeah.
Potter stepped in, Neil Maupay chipped in with a few goals, but our problem's never been scoring goals. It's always been defending, which it sounds weird because I rant and rave about our defenders, about how good they are at points. I think Ethan Pinnock's one of the most underrated centre-backs in the league. Nathan Collins, it was his first season in a Brentford shirt. There was a few mistakes here and there. We had a home game against Wolves, and I think we signed him from Wolves, and he'd forgotten that he'd signed for Brentford. So he gave away like 3 goals in that game. But just defensively, the fact that we didn't have fullbacks as well, we had Saman Ghoddos, who, bless him, we signed him as a 10 a few years ago, and I don't think he ever played in that position. He was deployed everywhere but in a 10. He was playing as like a cover left back the whole season, so a lot of our problems came at the back post when crosses came into the box. We conceded a lot of headers. I think we conceded the most headers in the Premier League last season. So defending our box, which something you would normally associate Thomas Frank at being good at, in terms of our defensive record, since, especially in the Championship and when we've been up, we've normally been quite astute defensively, but defending our penalty box, our penalty area, was a big problem for us last season. And I think that was a byproduct of the fullbacks not being there, just in terms of having makeshift right backs, makeshift left backs defending that 6-yard box. We conceded so many goals at the back stick. So defensively, we made some reinforcement. We signed Sepp van den Berg yesterday, which I'm looking forward to seeing. Arne Hickey's going to be back after the international break, as is Recon Henry. So once we get those 2 back, I still think we need some cover, because we can't keep relying on Recon Henry. He's quite injury prone. It's the second time he's done his ACL. Arne Hickey, I don't even know if he's alive at this point. He got injured early in the season, and then he was supposed to be back, and then he got delayed, then he had surgery, and it's just like, I don't know if he's alive, but I'm really hoping that the club have said that he's going to be back after the international break. So fingers crossed he will be. And once we've got those two fullbacks back in place, and we've got cover across the defensive line with the reinforcement of Vandenberg, I'm positive about this season. That the first game against Palace was our front three. That's not going to be a problem. If those three stay fit, they can cause any team's problems. So I think the main issues that we had to resolve this summer were in defence. I think we've gone halfway to doing that by signing Sepp. But I do think we probably should invest in another fullback before the window ends. We've got some young players in midfield who are coming up through the B team, some prospects that we bought last season, a guy called Emre Konyak who we signed from the Turkish league, and also some other midfielders who kind of had fringe seasons last year, but I'd like to see break into that starting 11 a bit more. But yeah, the main area I would say is defence. That's where we need to get some reinforcements in.
Yeah, because it's interesting, because I think from my impression, I think a lot of Liverpool fans who are listening to this as well will think, games against Brentford. I remember a discussion a couple of weeks ago, actually, people were talking about games against Brentford and some of the options that we have in midfield. And just the ability to, deal with the size of Brentford at times, right? And so I think, a lot of, in my head, big players, well thought through set piece routines and dealing with that physical battle. And I think the discussion we were having was could you really play McAllister and Harvey Elliott in a game against Brentford in midfield together? Probably won't want to do that because they're too small figures, and despite their talents, you can probably only get away with one of them. Actually, I think a couple of seasons ago we tried to do it when Fabinho was really coming towards the end. Mm-hmm. I think we did Fabinho, Carvalho, Elliott, and it. Within 20 minutes, okay, it's not going to work as talented as these guys are. And we'll come on to Carvalho, absolutely. But that's something that I think Liverpool fans are definitely conscious of as well. Let's try and get the biggest team we can onto the pitch this Sunday to deal with Brentford. Not that you're some cynical, long ball team or anything like that, but just we know the physical battles. We know we have to win those first to actually have a chance of competing. And as you mentioned there, you're not worried about the front three. If that front three stays fit, then you're doing well this season. I had to take a look. I hadn't caught up with the highlights yet, and one of the situations that I've obviously been looking at, and you mentioned him earlier on, is Ivan Toney's, and him not being a part of that front three starting anyway for the opening game, and his future looks like it's elsewhere. And there's suggestions around a move to Saudi, which is surprising. I guess not surprising in some ways, but I just wanted to understand what that new front three looks like. So Wissa and Mbeumo there, who are two stalwarts, but what that new front three looks like, and how Thomas Frank has gone about looking to replace Toney. I know he was absent for such a large part of last season anyway, so you had time to practice. But what's your perspective on that? And I guess from a fan's perspective, it must be slightly weird, right? You've got great attached to this guy, but it seems like he is going to be leaving, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't write anything off with Brentford. He obviously was left out of the squad against Crystal Palace amid the Saudi interest, but I think the deal that the Saudis are trying to get done isn't close to being done yet. So I know he's trained all week. I wouldn't be surprised if he's involved in some way on Sunday after all that drama last weekend. It seemed like Ivan Toney was the story, even though Brentford played really well and won. Everyone was still talking about Ivan Toney and didn't even play.
Which has been the case a lot, right? I think that's been I've definitely heard Brentford fans go, would quite like it not to be.
Yeah, I cannot wait for it all to be done. And like you say, we've grown attached to him. He severed all those attachments when he did those interviews.
Yeah.
Frankly, he's a great player. I think he could do it any top six club, any club in the world. I think he's a world-class centre forward. But frankly, I couldn't wait to see the back of him. And in terms of how we're setting up now, with the front three of Kevin Schade, Brian Mbeumo and Wissa, I'm not sure if we'll see that on Sunday, because Thomas Frank, when we play top six guys, he tends to go into a back five and sit into a low block and then try and hit teams on the counter. Yeah. But that front three is so dynamic and so fluid, and just the pace of those three will cause anyone problems. Schade, you lose Toney's kind of traditional hold-up play. He's great at linking play, sitting on defenders' toes and really being good on the ball under pressure. Schade doesn't really provide you with that, but he can jump. That boy, okay. If he wasn't a footballer, he'd be in the NBA, because, oh my God, he's got a leap on him. So when you've got him to win the headers, and then you've got the willing runners in Brian Mbeumo and Jan Wissa, it's enough to cause any team's problems. And like, I feel like Brian Mbeumo particularly had a long spell out last season because of injury, but I'm fingers crossed. I'm so happy that we've got him for another season at least, because I'm so surprised that one of the top 6 clubs hasn't come in for him. If you look at his numbers and his goals per game, goals per minute, assists per minute, he is like only second to a few names in the league in the last couple of years. His output is insane. It's just for him, his biggest problem is like finding a level of consistency. When he's on it, like he was on Sunday, he's really, really top-notch player. So I feel like one other thing that I should say is maybe Brentford have been associated in the past with being a direct side when we had Ivan Toney in the Premier League. But Thomas Frank's preferred style of playing, and I'm sure if you asked him what style he preferred to play, he'd probably prefer to play without someone like an Ivan Toney, without a target that you can hoof it up long to. But we have him. He was one of the better strikers in the league, and we play to his strengths. In terms of this front three, it's more dynamic. It's probably closer to the Championship Brentford in terms of even that first goal against Palace on Sunday. You saw like the quick passing in midfield. Whistle gets the ball, lays it off to Norgard, then we're through, we're in on goal, and Brian does the ref. So it's a lot more fun to watch for sure. Obviously, we're going to miss Ivan Toney. We did sign his replacement, Igor Thiago from Club. He, in typical Brentford fashion, got injured before a ball was kicked, so we won't see him until the end of the year. But I'm not worried about that, because from Sunday's showing, when we come up against teams who are of a similar level to us in terms of outside the top 6, and Frank opts to go with a back 4, and we've got a front 3, they'll cause a lot of teams problems because they're just electric. They're really good.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned the pragmatism. I think that's one thing I've always associated with Thomas Frank, is that he's a pragmatic coach. And yeah, if you've got Ivan Toney, why not use him? Why not play to his strengths? But yeah, I think seeing this incarnation of Brentford, it does make sense that he probably would prefer this kind of approach. And you mentioned the window there. Igor Thiago comes in, sort of a similar 23-year-old forward from Bruges, similar kind of. Well, is he a similar kind of player to Toney, to sort of actually that ability to hold the ball up, and if you need that kind of player, that's the role he will fulfill when he's fit.
I think he does have like that kind of hold up play. He does have those traits, but he's not like a carbon copy of Toney.
Okay,
much better at running in behind. He can press like a monster. He's good in the air as well. He's more. He's similar to Toney in that he's like a kind of 6-yard box penalty area striker. He scored something like 23 goals for Club Brugge last season in the league and in the Europa Conference League, and he's only 23 as well. So he's not a like for like replacement for Toney. I think we'll play in a different way when he comes in. And yeah, apparently, well, I've seen him play. He's really quick. He's a good finisher, and yeah, like I said, he's a pressing monster, which I'm sure Thomas Frank will like, because Toney isn't like that. He's probably more similar to Ollie Watkins than he is similar to Ivan Toney, I would say.
This episode is brought to you by Experian. Are you paying for subscriptions you don't use but can't find the time or energy to cancel them? Experian could cancel unwanted subscriptions for you, saving you an average of $270 per year and plenty of time. Download the Experian app. Results will vary. Not all subscriptions are eligible. Savings are not guaranteed. Paid membership with connected payment account required.
At BlueNile.com, you can find endless ways to make your moments sparkle. From classic and timeless jewelry gifts to creating the custom engagement ring of her dreams, all at prices you won't find at a traditional jeweler. And right now, you can save up to 40% on fine jewelry and 25% on engagement ring settings during the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale, going on now. Go to BlueNile.com to shop the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale and save up to 40%. That's BlueNile.com.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. Ha. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit libertyshield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah, again, previous incarnation, right, of Brentford. And you mentioned, Liverpool fans will be, like, I guess, chuckling to themselves, or depending on sort of where they are on different scales of, I think, emotional, wherever they are in the transfer window. I think as you get older, you deal with it in different ways. But, Liverpool haven't been super active when it comes to, actually buying players. We're getting increasingly active when it comes to selling them, and actually selling them quite well, I think, in terms of some of the numbers we've got for some of these players who've never really kicked a ball for Liverpool in the senior team. And two of those, of course, are players who've joined Brentford, and Sepp van der Berg and Fabio Carvalho. And Carvalho actually who impressed in pre-season. I just wanted to get your thoughts on the two of them as signings in terms of how they address areas that needed to be addressed for Brentford and where you see them fitting in. And I think Carvalho is an interesting one in particular, because at Liverpool, one of the things that he seemed to really struggle with is people kept pushing him onto the wing and in the front line, like you play off the left or whatever. And he's definitely, I think, much more of a goal scorer than I think people think. Maybe people think he's a creative, like, Coutinho type. I don't necessarily think that is who he is. But I think he always wanted to play number 10. So it'd be interesting to sort of see your view on, like, does that role exist for him? Can he actually, like, play in that sort of central areas for Brentford, or where do you expect him to actually be situated?
Well, I think when I saw him play for Hull last season, I think his best, when he was in his best form and he went on that crazy run of scoring between January and the end of the season, I think you're right, his suited role was either that 10 or even like a false 9. I think he's a lethal finisher. Whether it was I wouldn't have said that was a particular position that we needed to strengthen in, because Thomas Frank has a player that I would say is probably quite similar to Carvalho already in Mikkel Damsgaard. And Mikkel Damsgaard is someone that Thomas Frank actually kind of went against the grain of Brentford, saying we only sign players through data, and we're the smart club, a bit like Brighton do and a bit like Liverpool do as well. Mikkel Damsgaard was different. He was just one that Thomas Frank brought in just because he thought he was good, and he knew him from the Danish youth setup. So Mikkel Damsgaard had a pretty good end to the season last season. He was one of our better players, but I'm interested to see how he comes in. It's limited because I've only watched as much as I can do of Hull. I didn't watch much of Hull City last season, but obviously, you do the thing where you go and watch a compilation or you watch their best bits, as a football fan normally does, and you kind of find out little bits about players. But I can tell that he's a very technical player. The only thing I worry about him maybe is his physicality wise, because I know that he's not the quickest, maybe not the strongest on the ball, but in terms of his technical ability, I don't think I have any doubts about that. Where he fits in, maybe just behind that front three, if he can solidify a position that Damsgaard has struggled to solidify over the last kind of couple of seasons when he's been at Brentford, that would be really exciting. The other thing is that Thomas Frank, he likes that kind of double pivot with Norgard holding, and then Janelt kind of plays next to him, but he's more advanced than Norgard at times, which means that there is space for a traditional number 10, but not in the sense that you've got that number 10 position, you've got a free role, and you have no defending to do. I think Thomas Frank likes players that can do both. So his role, I'm excited to see where he fits in. He's definitely going to need, I don't think he won't start, I don't think, on Sunday, because he only got 15 minutes last Sunday. So wherever he fits in, I think he's going to need to get a good game. And then once he gets a good game, he starts the next one, maybe puts together a run of form, and then he goes from there. But yeah, I'm just excited to see him, just because I haven't seen that much of him. But I think with both of them, the fees you got for them is pretty good. It's really good business. If they're deemed surplus to requirements at Liverpool, who could be considered one of the title contenders this season, then they're good enough for Brentford, because where we're aiming for and where Liverpool are aiming for are very different. But the fact that you've managed to get a hefty fee for both of them, and hopefully built the start of a fruitful relationship between Brentford and Liverpool in the transfer market, it sounds like a win-win for everyone. Sepp van den Berg, I was really, really, really happy with that signing, because I think if you look at his numbers and you look at how well he did in the Bundesliga last season, he is basically a carbon copy of Ethan Pinnock in terms of his numbers, his clearances, his blocks. They're literally they're very similar defenders, and you can tell that Thomas Frank has a type. So I'm super excited about him. Healthy competition for places in those centre-back positions. And now we've got real depth there. We've got Ethan Pinnock, Ben Mee, Nathan Collins, we've got Jisoo, who we've not seen before, and now we've got Sepp van den Berg as well. So there's really healthy competition for places at centre-back. And yeah, I'm happy with those signings. Honestly, we've kind of went a month or two without doing any transfer business, and then in the kind of space of a month, we picked up Carvalho, Sepp, and it looks like we're going to get one more over the line as well in the next couple of days. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing them both. And yeah, hopefully the start of a good relationship between Liverpool and Brentford.
Yeah, Van der Berg, certainly, I think his numbers really impressive in the Bundesliga. And you only had to look at the fact that Leverkusen were interested, right? I think
exactly, yeah.
It speaks volumes that the best team in Germany last season were interested in bringing him in. And I think it just came down to a fee in the end, right? That they didn't end up sort of securing him. So yeah, really interested to see how he does. He's been looking for this opportunity for a long time to just play Premier League football. Tough to get in as a centre back at Liverpool, and so I think he's he goes. Everyone wishing him the best. I'm sure everyone wishing him the best even more after they saw the fee. But definitely, I think was interested to see how he does, as well as Carvalho as well. I think sort of a strange situation with him and how he didn't really get a look in at Liverpool and was seemingly signed for a role that didn't exist. Was kind of a very strange thing for Liverpool to do. But it looks like Liverpool have gone back to more of that data-driven model now around players, and if they don't fit, they're going to be moved on. So, yeah, maybe it is a start of a fruitful relationship, and I don't know if there's any more positions you need, but I think it looks like Liverpool are still trying to get rid of
Salah.
Salah, yeah. If he's only got a few months left. Actually, that is something that does need to be addressed. You mentioned you're expecting one more to come in. Is there another position that makes sense that you need to reinforce, or is?
We've Gustavo Nunes from Grêmio in the Brazilian Premier League. He's rumored to be Fabrizio has given the here we go. So that's what I'm taking it as. But I know that he's got a couple wrong this season. So he's rumored to be signing for Brentford soon. He's a left winger, 18-year-old. Looks like another one of those Brentford, Brighton signings where you pick up one of these gems and they've got high resale value. We're not buying him for more than 10 million, I think. So excited to see what he can do. I think he plays left wing. I think the thinking is maybe that he can potentially cover in for left back if Rico Henry gets injured. So I think I would still be hoping for another out and out fullback, someone to challenge Rico Henry and Aaron Hickey. But it's difficult. I think the reason why they're a little bit hesitant or reluctant to maybe go for a left back is just because they'll be second fiddle to Rico Henry, and it's difficult to prize in someone who knows that they're going to be second choice. I think Rico Henry has been at the club for so long and he's just so underrated. I'm really surprised. I'm gutted for him that he got injured last season because of all of England's left back struggles at the Euros. I thought he would have been a shoo-in. Genuinely, he's so good defensively. The only thing that he needs to sort of iron out in terms of his game is his attacking output. But in terms of a 1v1 defender, he's fantastic. So it's difficult to bring in a left back who knows that they're going to be second choice. Aaron Hickey can play left back and he can play right back, so we probably don't need to strengthen in that area, and we've already got a backup right back for him. But yeah, I hope the thinking in bringing Gustavo Nunes, who's an out and out or traditional left winger, would be that maybe Thomas Frank can kind of convert him into a left back if needs be.
Yeah, well, Rico Henry, if his fitness allowed, he could have saved us all from the joy that was Kieran Trippier as a left back, or even as the Saka as a left back. Just because don't play left backs, or it's just very, very, very weird to just give up half the pitch, which was always need to do in the Euros. Expectations then, I suppose. I mean, you mentioned that defensively is sort of the area that you were really hoping that could be improved this season, needs to be improved. You're not worried on the attacking side of things. And once Thiago comes back as well, it's going to strengthen things for you. Where do you think fans' expectations are of Brentford now for this season? It's always a strange thing when a side comes up and operates so effectively and does well. Those expectations can shift quickly. I don't know what Brighton fans' expectations are at the moment, but given how they've been performing, I imagine they're significantly higher than they were a few seasons ago. Where do you think, where are your expectations? Where do you think the sort of fan base is at?
Well, it's difficult because first of all, I think the job that Thomas Frank has done in terms of keeping Brentford in the Premier League over 3 seasons, now we're going to our 4th, it goes under the radar a little bit, especially because like the yo-yoing now, you look at the 3 promoted teams, they're probably going to go back down. The same happened last season. At least 2 of them will go back down, you would say. I'm pretty sure everyone would say that. So like, I feel like the job that Thomas Frank can keeping us up, and in the fashion that he has done. I mean, the first season was 13th. The second season was 9th. Obviously, last season was terrible, but I don't think you can sort of legislate for that many injuries, just unprecedented. But even, especially the second season, like 2 points off Europe, when you get there, that's when the expectations start to rise. And it's like, okay, what next? What next? What next? And as Brentford fans, when you've seen absolutely nothing for the past like 40, 50 years, not speaking on my behalf because I wouldn't have seen that. I started supporting when we were in League Two. And to be fair, I've just seen constant up and up and up. So I feel harsh. I sort of feel sorry for the older fans because they've just had their hearts broken on so many occasions. But the expectations do start to rise. And it is almost like, okay, what next? Are we just going to be in the Premier League to survive each year? Is that fun? Do we want a cup run? I would love a cup run. I think that can kind of, especially if you're a mid-table team and you're kind of just languishing in that middle period, I would love a cup run just to kind of ignite the season a little bit. But especially after getting so close to Europe in that second season, I wouldn't come into this season after the preseason that we had and the signings that we've made and the players that we've got coming back saying that I wasn't optimistic, because especially on Sunday, just that front three, honestly, if we can lock down our kind of defensive issues that we had last season, I think that front three is going to be a hell of a lot of fun to watch, and I think they'll get us a lot of points. So I think I'm expecting a mid-table finish. If you're asking me if I'm putting my optimistic hat on, obviously to get into some form of European place would be amazing. But with the amount of money that's being spent and the gap between the top 6 and the rest of the league, it's always going to be extremely difficult for any team with a low budget that can't spend as much to get into those top positions. And even this season, I see Fulham spending crazy amounts of money. I see Ipswich breaking the bank. There's just so much money. Like maybe the top 6 haven't spent as much, apart from Chelsea. I have to say that maybe the top 6 haven't spent as much as the other clubs in the lower half of the table, but it will be difficult. And you kind of do, once you come up, you wonder maybe the journey was the best part, because now it's just like we'll have a few good results here and there, we'll have some good memories, but where are we going? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the discussion I always have. I think definitely tongue in cheek, but I want to wind up my mates who are Everton fans. That, come on, wouldn't you rather? Come on, just a couple seasons, you go down, and you might actually win. Yeah, you
win every week.
Something.
Win every week, so it would be great.
And there's definitely been times where I've been able to see it in their eyes that you know what, maybe actually could we won't have to play Liverpool for a while, and it could be like, so we'll see. But actually they're in actually, I think, given the seriousness of their situation this season, they actually, and maybe something that they actually cannot avoid, but we'll have to see as the season unfolds. And I think this time in the season as well, you're always seeing stuff around, okay, get your bad predictions in now. Like, is there something that's just been clawing away at you around, like, oh, you know what, I think Worcester's going to get 20 goals or like something like that. If you were to go with the less rational side of yourself, but something that you think, someone who you think is going to have a particularly great season, or a prediction you want to make that you might later on just delete that tweet or whatever. What would that be?
Brian Mbumo, breakout. That's not even irrational. Genuinely, he stays fit the whole season, he'll be off next summer, because he'll put up some serious numbers. He's output machine. You look at his numbers from when he signed for Brentford in the Championship to where he is now. It's crazy. If he can get a level of consistency to his performances, he's taken over that mantle from Toney. He's going to be the main man of Brentford. I would say 25 goals and assists this season, I think, would be maybe not a ridiculous shout, but maybe bordering on the ridiculous.
And he's 24, right? I mean, I think
he's so young. Like, no one knows, because he's bald.
Doesn't look 24.
He does not look 24. Everyone thinks this guy's 30, but no, when we signed him, he was like 21. So like, he's just been a complete revelation. I'm fully expecting him to kind of step into that role as being the main man of Brentford. And I think if he stays fit, touch wood, he'll have a really strong season.
Yeah, no, he is. I mean, like you mentioned, like coming up because of the numbers. I mean, he is somebody I've seen like routinely discussed with Liverpool, not into the firm links, but people who who run the numbers going, hey, Obermo's there. Yeah, he's there or thereabouts in terms of consistency. Like, there's not many others who can see who've actually done it in the Premier League, and like, who are we going to replace Salah with eventually? But although he does look at the moment like he's in the kind of shape that he can play for another 2 or 3 years. But yeah, his name comes up a lot. So I think you're right. I wouldn't be surprised if, not that it's something that you want to see, but that this could be his breakout, and that a bigger move does await him. But we'll have to see. And on Liverpool, I mean, just touch upon Liverpool a little bit. The game this weekend, you're expecting, as you said, like back five, that approach of like trying to sit in and counter really quickly, which you've got the pace to do now. And Liverpool will play high, as they always do, that high defensive line, and just back themselves to be able to deal with those situations. I think are a little bit different this time round, much more bit more mindful in the build up, bit more risk averse in terms of not always looking to play the killer ball and build up a bit slower and then go very fast on some of those attacks. So I think maybe hope slightly less open to the counters this season. But what kind of game are you expecting? And at this stage of the season, is it one that Thomas Frank can just say, go express yourselves, there's really nothing to lose at this stage, and you can try and get a result?
I wish that Thomas Frank would do that. I think sometimes when you're playing the top six, in terms of where Brentford want to be, I would love it if he was a little bit more, not sort of, if he threw caution to the wind a little bit more. I think I'm hoping that he might look at the Liverpool game and think, well, it's a free hit, it's the second game of the season, we played really well with the back four on Sunday, maybe I'll try it. But, I say that, but in the season where we finished 9th, we had one of the best records against the top six, and we did the double over Man City, and we beat you at home, and we beat Chelsea home and away. Like, we had an insanely good record against the top six. So, and that's down to Thomas Frank's pragmatism, and it's down to like how well drilled that low block is. It's like, I think Pep said it before, like playing Brentford is like going to the dentist. So Thomas Frank, he has that low block down to a T, and I wouldn't expect him to kind of deploy anything else, to be honest, just because even if it's Arne Slot and it's a new era, I think they'll be sitting and they'll be watching the Ipswich game. And, Ipswich pressed the Liverpool high up in that first half. Probably ran themselves to the ground a little bit, and the second half was credit to Slot for making that change, because I think it changed the game. And then after that, it could have been 5-0. So, I mean, the chances that you guys created, Thomas Frank will not like that. He'll be thinking we cannot surrender that many chances, especially high quality chances, to Liverpool on Sunday. So I'm fully expecting a back five, soak up the pressure, and then we'll utilise that front three, utilise that pace of the front three to get ourselves out of those defensive situations, exploit the space that comes up the pitch. And I'm hoping for a good game. Whenever Brentford and Liverpool meet, it's always a pretty entertaining game.
It's always a good game, yeah.
It's always a good game. So it's a new Liverpool team. In some ways for Brentford, it's a new Brentford team because it's kind of Brentford without Toney. I say that now before kickoff, when he could definitely potentially start. So maybe, I'm not sure. It could be the same Brentford that you guys played last year. But yeah, I'm hoping for a good game more than anything else, and I do think we'll have chances. I definitely think we'll have chances.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.